And now we have on the phone RPI graduate and Miami Dolphins kicker Andrew Franks. Andrew, you're heading into your second year in the NFL. You're ready for training camp to come around again.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me. But I think I think I'm ready. It's gonna be I think it's gonna be a good year this year.
What do you expect from camp in year two? You've been through the grind one time before. You know what to entail. You know that the starting job is more yours this year than it was last year. What do you expect this year?
Like you already said, I know what to expect. So, I'm looking to make a big leap from last year. I feel more confident. I feel better in my stroke. So, for the most part, I'm expecting a big jump for me.
Andrew Franks joining us, Miami Dolphins kicker and an RPI graduate. So you went to school in Troy, and now you live in Miami. Those are pretty close to the same thing, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much synonymous in my eyes.
It's pretty. What's it like living in Miami? You're the academic type going to RPI. Is Miami overwhelming to you at all?
It's definitely a big leap. It's completely different, honestly. It's nice not really having a winter. When winter is like 75 degrees, it's sort of nice. But, it's definitely a little crazier over here, but, it's a nice change of pace.
What are the expectations inside that locker room as you're about to begin the season here? I'm assuming you've been working out with the guys for the Dolphins in terms of the AFC East. You guys think that you can take that divisional crown?
That's what we're hoping for. That's what we're aiming for. I think we have one of the toughest divisions in football. So for us, we're definitely trying to be at the top. So, we're definitely looking for a big improvement from last year.
Andrew Franks with us, RPI graduate, Miami Dolphins kicker, Big Board Sports, Brady Farkas, Zach By, in for Roger. So, Andrew, last year the big hubbub in the offseason was all about the change to the extra point. We're moving the extra point back and making it more difficult, and it did prove to be more difficult as kicks, or, kick percentage on extra points was, I think, the second lowest ever. Now we're talking about maybe shrinking the goalpost sometime in the future. How big a deal would that be to you guys?
It definitely makes it harder. Obviously, we're aiming for the middle every time, trying to get it right down the pipe. So, making it a little smaller, I guess it obviously is going to lower the percentage, but hopefully won't make that much of a difference. In my opinion, I'd rather move back than make the goalposts narrower, but, that's just how I see it.
The last time we spoke, I remember specifically asking you how difficult it was to kick in the cold, because we just watched the Vikings-Seahawks playoff game, and Blair Walsh missed the kick 27 yards out, and it was like minus 30 on the wind chill. Now, I want to ask you the question, who's the best kicker in the NFL you've seen not named Andrew Franks?
I feel like you have to say Vinatieri just from the fact that he's done it for so long at such a high level. He's done it for 20-something years, something like that. And he's been at the top of his game the longest. It's either him or Stephen Gostkowski. So, I can't really put my finger between the two, but, they're both extremely good kickers.
Andrew Franks, a Miami Dolphins kicker and RPI graduate, joining us on Big Board Sports. Andrew, from time to time, you got to get a sideways look when you tell people you're from RPI, right?
Yeah, pretty much. I usually have to explain what that means and what that is.
And then where it is, and that is Division III. What's the progression? It reminds me like when I went to college, Zach, you too. I'm sure someone asked you, where are you from? I'm from New York. Okay, where? I'm from Albany. Okay, where? Clifton Park. Where did you go to school? So it's like a four-pronged process. Is it that way for you too?
No, it's exactly the same thing. It's RPI. Yeah, that's a school in upstate New York. It's right next to Albany. Yeah, it's a very similar progression, and you just sort of go down the line, and it gets to a science at a certain point.
And Andrew, when you were at RPI, you were a biomedical engineering major, if I have that right. What comes with more pressure, studying for one of those 400-level courses, a test, or a pressure game-winning kick?
That's a tough one. Some of those classes were pretty tough, pretty stressful times. It's a little weird when it's completely different though. Instead of an all-nighter trying to study for a test versus a game-winning kick. I think the all-nighters were definitely more stressful in my eyes. You had more time to prepare for it. Game-winning kick, you never know when it's going to come up, so it's just sort of there and it's over with real quick. So, I think classes were honestly a little tougher than it is kicking an NFL ball.
Kickers and punters get a bad rap. As training camp starts, what is your routine like at camp? I'm sure it's not just you guys sitting off on a side field by yourself for 5 of 6 hours and then kicking a few balls. So what are you going through at camp? Defend the kickers.
Oh, right. I mean, we're definitely not lollygagging, that's for sure. For the most part, we're out there, especially in the Florida heat, hanging, working on our game, working on our steps, working on all our stuff. So we're never really just standing there not doing anything. We're doing the same workouts as the rest of the players in the facility at the same time. So we're definitely pushing ourselves. But then for the most part, we're definitely sort of seeing how the wind's moving, seeing our balls, trying to improve in every aspect. So there's really no days off for us, just like every other player. So, we're just another football player.
Andrew Franks, RPI graduate, Miami Dolphins kicker with us. Big Board Sports, 104.5 The Team. Brady Farkas, Zach By, in for Roger today. Andrew, the Dolphins last year had a lot of instability. We're coming off, you guys going into the year last year, we're coming off the Richie Incognito scandal, and you weren't there for that, but it was all still in the organization. Coach fired early in the season. How excited are you and relieved just to have an organization that's more stable going into this season?
I think just from a whole team standpoint, I think having a solid head coach and, just sort of, your head man being in a stable position, I think is huge for us. We have no doubt, he's going to be there the whole season. So, for us, I think it's a huge, huge factor in sort of the success that we envision.
The Capital Region has had a lot of success, especially the Liberty League as a whole. We know about RPI Union Hockey. We know about those Division I programs putting out pros. But now we talk about, we've got, there was another football player, I think, from RPI who was invited to the NFL Combine, to the D3 Combine. And then we got Jake Fishman, was a Union product, drafted Major League Baseball, went and signed. So I know you got no love for Union, but it's pretty cool to see the Liberty League as a whole producing some athletes on the highest stage.
No, it really is. When you go to RPI and you hear about it, you never expect it to sort of be an athlete-producing league. So, the fact that, we're doing well academically and then, physically, athletically, is really something sort of that, you pay tribute to.
You're in Miami. A lot of good things in Miami. Good food, beautiful women, lots of things going on in Miami. There's got to be one thing you miss about the Capital Region. What's that one thing that you miss when you're from being your time here in Troy?
I do miss the snow a little bit. As weird as it is, I don't miss shoveling. I don't miss any of that. But it is sort of nice in winter, to see the snow fall, see it accumulate. So I do miss that a decent amount. So that's something you never get down here.
Well, hopefully you don't have to make too many kicks in the snow, because you told me how difficult it is. Basically, when that ball gets wet and it's freezing outside, it's like trying to kick a rock. I can't imagine that's all that fun.
Yeah, no, it's definitely not the most pleasant experience, but, it's something that we got to deal with.
Which has more money in the profession, Andrew, NFL kicker or biomedical engineer?
In the long run, I'm going to say engineering. In the short run, definitely an NFL kicker. I don't think many engineers make what we make starting out. So,
Andrew, after your career kicking in the NFL, could you see yourself returning back to your college major in biomedical engineering?
I'd like to. I definitely would like to sort of keep, what I started in college and continue growing that, and something that I can do, after my career. So that's something I'm definitely going to be working on in the off season and, hopefully throughout the season.
Well, Andrew Franks, we wish you the best of luck. Miami Dolphins kicker, RPI graduate. Our intern Bryce is all pumped. Had you on his fantasy team last year. I told him, hold him as a keeper for a year or two. We expect big things. So, Andrew, everyone in the Capital Region, happy for you, happy for your success. Best of luck. Congratulations on all the success so far. We'll talk to you again soon.
Awesome. Thanks.